This morning, now Rev Michael. Oh, Michael is up there. Excuse me. One second.
That driving power, that energizing force that sustains us, that nurtures us, that created us out of itself and declared that we are whole, perfect, complete. Each one of us present in this experience as a unique, individualized expression of that one. And so we know, let us just know together that we are here by choice. We are here by divine appointment. We are here together to celebrate that presence, expressing as that experience of truth that guides us and nurtures us in our everyday lives and affairs. It is that which is expressing this morning as a Sunday morning service. It is every song sung, it is every word spoken, it is every open heart that is receptive to the words of truth. Words that allow us to grow and thrive and flourish and prosper in every aspect of our lives. And so I declare now that the divine presence is holding counsel here within every heart, within every mind. It is that which expresses as Reverend Michael who brings a message. And it is that which expresses that as everyone who is open and receptive to the words of truth spoken. And so I give thanks for this special experience. I give thanks to everyone else who is hastening on their way, knowing that their path is safe and clear and easy and all is well. And in this consciousness and with deep gratitude, I release these words now, knowing that they are fully and powerfully accomplished as our experience. I truly rejoice that all this is so now, and so it is. Good morning and welcome. So today we're going to sing our chant at this time, and it's God is peace. Take a deep breath in as we embrace the idea of peace and just allow it to settle in our consciousness. God is peace, and peace surrounds me. In that peace I safely dwell. Peace above, beneath, within me. Peace is mine, and all is well. God is peace, pure peace. God is peace, sweet peace. That peace is mine, mine.
is love, that love surrounds me. In that love I safely dwell. 'Tis above me, each within me. Love is mine, and all is well. God is love, your love. God is love, sweet love. That love is mine, mine, and all is well.
And now we'll just have a few moments of quiet contemplation in the silence. Let's take a deep breath in. And return refreshed from the silence. This morning we have an inspirational reading from Raymond Holliwell, writing in Working with the Law. And there's an epigraph by Ernest Holmes that says, and I quote, "There is one mental law in the universe, and where we use it, it becomes our law because we have individualized it." And the title is Using the Law of Mind Thoughtfully. All things and events, all experiences and conditions of our life are results. And all results, however, will vary in quality and in quantity in accordance with the degree of knowledge possessed and in the measure of the mind's activity. The quality of the results produced by the individual thinker may be good, bad, or indifferent, as may be determined by the conscious direction of choice or lack of such. Some results being harmonious and favorable, while others are discordant and unfavorable, or there may be a medley of the whole. It is absolutely essential to give intelligent direction to the creative powers of the mind to obtain the best and largest results in our particular sphere of active expression. In fact, it is highly important from the standpoint of usefulness and common duty that we should endeavor to understand the mind and its workings and learn how to cultivate and develop those processes of thinking that will give us mastery over life and its conditions. Food for thought. And our children are always such a wonderful light. And so now let's just create that symbol that represents our children, the lighting of our youth candle. And that joyful experience of our temple song. Let's do the blessing first, and that blessing is on page 2. Let's have our children join us as we do the blessing together. Our youth, sorry, hush. Let me tell you, my 43-year-old son is still my children. And every mother in here can attest to that, I'm sure. And father, don't. So don't feel no way. We know say no big, but still. All right, let us sing our temple mission song together.
Blessed.
Oh, the blessing. Oh, you all distract me now. We love you.
We
We appreciate you.
We salute the Christ in you. We see you as shining lights onto our world. God is blessing you now, and so it is.
And now we'll do our temple mission song.
The temple of light, the temple of light, the temple of light. We are a people with a mission, one with spirit on a mission. To touch, to heal, to bless, to prosper, to love and liberate anyone who comes into contact with us, anytime, night or day. The temple of light, the temple of light, the temple of light. We are a people with a vision, one with spirit on a mission. To touch, to heal, to bless, to prosper, to love and liberate anyone who comes into contact with us, anytime, night or day.
Wow. And now, together, let us just bring our voices and our consciousness together in our affirmation of divine love. At the top of page 3, together. Divine love is doing its perfect work here and now. Divine love harmonizes. Divine love adjusts. Divine love prospers. Divine love foresees everything and richly provides every good thing for this church now. Divine love is now victorious, and so it is. And we're going to sing again our praise song, Life is for Living.
Life is for living. Whatever you will live for, you will give. Life is for giving. Whatever you will give to life will live. Life is for doing, for living, giving, doing, learning now. Life is for you and life is for me. Life is for living now. Life is for loving. Whatever you will love enough is yours. Life is for sharing. Whatever you will share with others grows. Life is for being, for loving, sharing, being, learning now. Life is for you and life is for me. Life is for living now.
Can I ask you to stand so that we can do our prayer of our center? And it should be on a flyer in your program. Yes. The Temple of
Of
Light,
Light,
Center for Spiritual Living, is a sacred field embodying our spiritual community from which the Christ, peace, love, and joy emanate.
to touch, to heal, to bless, to prosper, and to liberate anyone who comes into contact with it in any way. The light of the Christ illumines us, our center, and our environment. Our spiritual community is filled with and surrounded by the presence of God and is growing from strength to strength. The power of God expands our consciousness of truth, guiding us ceaselessly along the paths of wisdom, spiritual growth, unfoldment, and attainment. We are blessed, and to God be the honor and the glory forever. And so it is. Amen.
You may sit. A very special welcome to everyone again, especially those of you who are joining us online. We are really, really happy to have you. Anyone here for the first time this morning? I'm not seeing any unfamiliar faces, so we welcome you all to our hearts. And we welcome you to our beautiful sanctuary. And we behold the Christ in each and every one of us. Now, our flowers this morning, wow. I know that Reverend John would have been able to wax off the Latin of what those flowers are called, but they're absolutely stunning. And they were artfully designed by Mrs. Judith Dare, contributed by the family of the late Eric Vaughan Martin, whose Thanksgiving service was on Friday last. And we thank his sister, Stephanie Martin, for this wonderful gift. Now, there's a flyer in the program with significant events of the temple, and so we'll just give a few short announcements here. This Tuesday, our spiritual mind healing service will be at 6 o'clock, and the speaker is practitioner Vance Gardner, and he will be sharing some thought-provoking concepts on how to apply the principles of the science of mind in our daily lives. The Zoom link will be sent from our mailing list on Tuesday morning, so you can look out for that. Now, we want to have Wisdom Circle, Angelo? Yeah, okay. So those of you who are not going to get caught in the traffic of Carnival, we are going to have our Wisdom Circle this morning, and we invite you to join Angela Elliott right after the service. She will lead a discussion around ideas shared from the book, The Science of Successful Living, authored by CSL luminary Raymond Charles Barker. I think he was one of Dr. Elmer's teachers. Now, Reverend John continues to do quiet moments in the garden on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So you can join him at 6 o'clock on Facebook Live for an early morning cup of goodness. I love that, an early morning cup of goodness to start your day. And on Thursdays at 6 p.m., we invite you to join us for an hour of prayer and meditation. We send out the Zoom link on Thursday morning in our mailing list, so you can look out for that in your email. Now, on the 22nd, April 22nd, our young adults will have a workshop on study habits with Brandon Robinson. Now, Brandon is one of our graduated teens. I mean, Brandon and his brother Gregory used to be part of our Sunday school from little boys into young adults, and now Brandon is going to be taking our young people through an amazing workshop on how to study effectively with exams coming up and all, so that you can call the office for further information, but it's scheduled for April 22nd at 2 p.m. Now, exciting news about our master class. From October 27th to October 29th, we will be having a wonderful masterclass weekend retreat at Jewel Paradise Cove Beach Resort and Spa. Our special guest is award-winning author, mentor, and keynote speaker, Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones. Google him. I mean, he has some amazing books that he has published. And he will be our facilitator. Now, the cost is 75,000 Jamaican dollars, and that includes transportation, accommodation, whole heap of food, and the materials for the program. Now, we offer a payment plan of 15,000 per month, which would allow us to complete that amount. Now, let me ask a question. How many of you would like to go? Raise your hands. Okay. How many of you would like to go, but the first thing that came to your mind is, but I can't afford it? Fess up now.
We have time.
And I know there are some of you that are thinking it, don't? All right. One of the things I've discovered, and I know about this teaching, is that it works if you work it. It's our finite mind that stops us from accomplishing the things we want to accomplish. Set your intention. If you decide, I am attending this workshop, not I am going to attend either, but I am attending, put it in the first person present tense. Declare it. I don't know how it happens, friends, but all of a sudden the money just comes. And so set your intention. If you don't have the 15,000, make your intention known. There's some wonderful stories about people who have put $1, $10. We're talking US here though. But if it's at $2,000, come and bring it into the office and say, this is for my retreat. Once you have the intention, the universe jumps in to fill it. Your wish is my command. Ask and it shall be given. Exactly? All right. And the more we think I can't afford it, is the more you're going to have the experience of I can't afford it. Got that? So we're going to see you all at our retreat at the end of October. And so we support you with our prayers. And a practitioner is available to pray with you immediately following our service this morning. And practitioner Courtney Johnson is on duty today. The number to call is 289-0907. And if you want to speak to a practitioner or consult with a minister, Monday to Friday, between 8 a.m. to midnight, you can call the same number, 289-0907. Sorry, that's 876. Remember to put that before it, 876-289-0907. And pastoral counseling is also available. And so you can call into the office for an appointment. Now, we thrive on your tithes, your donations, and your offerings. We truly, truly appreciate your generosity for helping us to be that beacon of light in the world. And so if you wish to continue to support our ministry financially, we ask that you visit our donate page. This is for those of you who are joining online, and even those of us here, we can go home and do that. Our donate page at donate.templeoflightcsl.org, which has our banking details. And so we thank you all together, and we know that our collective generosity helps to support us in creating a world that works for everyone. And that's it for announcements. And we're going to sing together now our first hymn, which is "O Faith That Lights the Soul of Man." And you see the words on the flyer and on the screen.
We
And so now open your minds and your hearts for some scintillating, thought-provoking words authored by Rev Michael Reckord, inspired by Spirit. I know that it will help to cast a wonderful presence of light on your day-to-day and throughout this week, and in fact, perhaps for your entire life. So put your hands together and help me welcome Reverend Michael Reckord.
Thank you so much, Sandy. Good morning, friends.
Morning.
Welcome to another Sunday morning service, beaming out from the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living in Kingston, Jamaica. I welcome those here in the sanctuary, physically here in Kingston on this beautiful, beautiful morning. And I welcome too those who are joining us online via the World Wide Web, that amazing, amazing tool of communication that is uniting the entire world. My talk this morning is about a few of the infinite number of spiritual laws that there are. A number that is limited only by your imagination and your definition of exactly what is a spiritual law. The spiritual laws that I'll be discussing come from a course that I have been teaching for the past couple of months, a course accredited by CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living. And the course is called Spiritual Laws. The last class is on Wednesday, a couple of days from now. Listen in if you wish. Practitioner Jennifer, who assists me in the course, will send you the link. I hope that my students won't complain that what I'm doing here is giving the whole class summarized in a mere 25 minutes when they have had to attend 16 hours of classes. The course is based on a book, Working with the Law, by Raymond Holliwell. And we heard mention of it earlier when Sandy was reading the inspirational reading. Holliwell says that the fundamental law, the one that the others are built on, is the law of cause and effect. And that law, that fundamental basic law, cause and effect, may be expressed in all sorts of ways. And his book has 11 of those ways. This is one of my favorite books. It is the first truth book that I read when I came to the temple some 20-odd years ago. I introduced myself to Reverend Elmer, the founder of this church. And when I told her how fascinated I was by the teaching, it's unlike anything that I had ever heard in orthodoxy. I'd been brought up in orthodoxy, as we call it, mainly the Anglican Church. I went to Kingston College, and every day we had to go to chapel. It was quite unlike anything that I'd heard in orthodoxy, the way that Reverend Elmer was explaining the laws of life. And she sent Reverend Ann to bring this book by Raymond Holliwell. Reverend Ann went to the book room, brought this book, and was opening it to look at the price, $330, to get the money from me. Reverend Elmer says, no, 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 give it to him. You should have seen the look on Reverend Anne's face. She was absolutely dismayed. She had lost a sale. And her job, of course, was to sell books, not give them away. Anyway, I have a feeling that Reverend Elmer thought that giving me the book was an investment. And I hope that that investment has paid off. I certainly hope so. The first of the laws that Raymond Holliwell speaks about is the law of thinking. Now, I want to go back, before going into the body of the talk, I want to go back to that inspirational reading which Sandra read. Very, very well, Sandra. She was explaining it with her voice and her pauses, dramatic pauses, we call them in theater, as she read them, so that the meaning could come across really clearly. I want to go back to it because it's quite cleverly constructed with a beginning and a middle and an end. The beginning says that all things and events, all experiences and conditions of life are results. So when you look around you, when you see the beautiful flowers, the green grass, rapidly turning green from the brown that it was because of some rain that we had, when you look at your fellow congregants, when you look at the chairs, when you look at everything around you, what Holliwell says you're looking at are results. They are results. Implying, of course, that there was a cause. You can't have a result without a cause. So in the first section, the first paragraph of the inspirational reading is what it is that exists. Everything is a result. And he says that the results that you're looking around will vary in quality and quantity. And this is true. Some of the things you're looking around you are of high quality. Some of the things are not so high. Everything. The chairs, the floor, the structure, the plants outside. So they vary in quality and quantity. And he tells us the source of these results, these effects. He tells us that the source is the mind. The mind. And it is, we go back to Ernest Holmes' epigraph, there is one mental law in the universe. Mental law, the mind, law of the mind. And where we use it, it becomes our law. So there's a mental law in the universe. When we use it, it becomes our law, our personal law, because we have individualized it. So there is what exists, there is the source, the mind, there's the quality and quantity. And then in the last section of the inspirational reading, Raymond Holliwell tells us how to improve that quality. And let me read that sentence. It is important from the standpoint of usefulness and common duty that we should endeavor to understand the mind and its working and learn how to cultivate and develop those processes of thinking that will what? They will give us what we want in life, mastery over life and its conditions. And the way that we obtain that mastery is by improving the quality of our thinking. So, Holliwell then, in that quick introductory few paragraphs, he goes on to how it is that we can improve the quality of our thinking. So he breaks down this one huge law of cause and effect into 11 sub-laws, if you wish. And the first one, the law of thinking. And this is what he says. A change of thoughts about anything will produce a change of experience concerning that thing. So whatever thing that you choose to think about, if you change your thought, you change your perception of that thing, the thing will change. Why? Because that thing is a result. A result of what? Of your thinking about it. The progress, he continues, of the individual is largely determined by his ruling mental state. Your progress in life is largely determined by the ruling mental state, because the mind is the basic factor and governing power in our lives. And he warns us, pay attention to your predominant mental states. Full stop. Pay attention. Now, I want everybody to very briefly, because you're going to go within and then come back to listen to me. Think about what exactly is your predominant mental state. Is it one of optimism or the opposite? Is it one of peace and harmony or the opposite? When you're driving on the road, do you think about unity with that fellow who just sweeps in front of your car? Is your first thought about unity? Because you know that the mind that he's using is the mind that you are using. You know that he or she, could be a taxi driver, whatever it is your brother or your sister. So what is your thought on that occasion? But that may be a fleeting thought. We're talking about predominant mental states of mind. What is your predominant thought? Positive or negative? Because, folks, Holliwell reminds us, the state of your life is going to depend on your predominant mental thought. Not necessarily on the fleeting thoughts. Everybody has fleeting thoughts, good, bad, or indifferent. But the predominant one, what exactly is it? So that's the law of thinking. The second law is the law of supply. And he promises, this is really wonderful. He says, unlimited good will flow into the life of whoever honors, listen to this, both their dissatisfaction with what they've got and their desire to have more. That is probably causing you to put a question sign over that. I should honor my dissatisfaction with what I have. He explains why. In the chapter, which opens with this broad, blank, plain statement, man is never satisfied. And though he says that this fact is deplored by many, he reminds us God did not intend that man should be forever satisfied. You see, the law of supply, this is what he's talking about. The law of our being is perpetual increase, progress, and growth. So when one good is realized, another desire for a greater good will develop. And when a higher state of mind is realized, another and more glorious state will unfold in our vision and urge us on and on. Hence, the advancing life is the true life, the life that God intended man to live. And that was a quote by Holliwell. We are not meant to rest stagnant on any sort of laurels that you rest on your laurels. You move forward, onwards and upwards. Then comes the third law, which is a very popular one. We know about it, the law of attraction. And he says, persistent personal portrayal of any quality of mind will automatically attract to you people and events which creatively correspond to that quality of mind. So whatever your mind is like, you will attract similar things and people and events and objects into your life. That is the law of attraction, which he succinctly explains like this, I quote, "The mind is a magnet, and it attracts whatever corresponds to its ruling state. Whatever we imagine in mind, whatever we expect," that word is very important, what we expect. We don't get what we want, we get what we expect. What we expect, to continue with his quote, whatever we expect and think about, we tend to bring into our lives the things and conditions that are in harmony with it, unquote. Therefore, he warns, everyone should be doubly careful about how and what he or she thinks. You know, that sums up the fundamental principle of our teaching, Science of Mind, which was founded in the 20s, about 100 years ago, by Ernest Holmes. And it also echoes a statement from Proverbs written about 3,000 years ago. So we see where perhaps this is where Ernest Holmes got it 100 years ago. 3,000 years ago, we read in Proverbs, here it is. We read in Proverbs, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And in another chapter, Holliwell gives us some good news. That mind magnet, which our mind is, can be charged with constructive thoughts. So we can change our minds, we can charge our minds. And Holliwell continues, reminding us that all the poverty in the world arises just from a poverty consciousness, and all the wealth in the world that those have arises from a wealth consciousness. So that was the third law, the law of attraction. Fourth law is the law of receiving. And this one I find a little curious. Think about it. What we are able to give and the spirit in which we give it dictates what we will be able to receive and how well we will be able to enjoy and profit from us. You see, it turns out the law of receiving, that's the title of the chapter, the law of the receiving, is really the law of giving and receiving. For Holliwell says that giving always precedes receiving. And then he comes with a note of caution. Be careful what you give. Be careful how you give and to whom you give. I quote, a practical interpretation of the law is, when you see someone making an effort to help himself, that is the time to assist him. But do not give of your substance to one who will not help himself, or at least won't even try. The latter type will not only misuse your gift, but will abuse you if and when you cease to give, unquote. And we may remember Jesus' caution, do not cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and rend you, unquote. That's the law of giving and receiving, called for short the law of receiving. Number 5, the law of increase. Now, this is how you do it. When we praise God in the midst of all things, good, bad, or indifferent, we praise God in the midst of all things. Whatever good it takes to improve our experience will come to us and grow in it. That is a summary, but here is the actual quote. When one can sing praises in the face of adversity, the adversity will soon disappear. That is not a promise. That is a law, unquote. I just love that final sentence of it. Sing praises in the midst of adversity, and the adversity will dissipate. It will vanish. It will go away. And he says, that is not a promise. That is a law. Love it, love it. And he points out that we should not think our praise of God is going to influence God. That's not why we are praising, not to influence God. Not one bit. God is not changed by praise, as some people are changed by flattery. We praise and thank God in order to influence who? Ourselves. Praise, Holliwell says, raises people's state of consciousness so that they can become more receptive to the good around them. There is always good around us. Look, 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 you can see it. There's always good around us. And when you praise what is around you, praise God and praise life, praise everything. When you praise, you raise your consciousness, and the law of attraction chips in, and the good that you are looking at and praising just flows into your life. And that is how you get increase. If we hope to receive God's outpouring of good, we must keep ourselves receptive. And praise is one of the simplest means known to accomplish this. Number 6 is the law of compensation. The response of the universe to what we give to life is to return it to us in ways that are particularly useful to us for our growth and happiness. This law, he who becomes better will attract the better, echoing the law of attraction. And he gives the examples of the law in operation. If you want a better home, make the one you have as nice as you possibly can. Don't denigrate it down. Don't look down on it. Don't be scornful of the things that you have. Praise, and the universe will compensate you. If you want new furnishings, new clothing, don't condemn or belittle what you have, but enjoy them to the fullest. Think about that one. Think about that one. Every time you're about to throw away old pair of shoes or clothes, etc., put it aside with a thankful heart. Number 7 is the law of non-resistance. Holliwell says we cannot demonstrate what we want by spending our time and energy thinking about what? What we do not want. or thinking poorly of people who have what we want. Remember in Matthew 5, Jesus' words, I say unto you that you resist not evil. He's talking about the law of non-resistance. That might seem a paradox, contrary to our natural inclination to resist evil. But if we go through life fighting, opposing, resisting, arguing, we are bound to meet many obstacles and likely to become so occupied fighting and resisting and opposing, etc., that we lose sight of our real objective, the good that we want. Whereas, on the other hand, if we strive to make little of the obstacles, downplay them, look at them not as mountains but as molehills, those obstacles. When we do that, we will be able to keep our mind on the objective, and our desire will be ultimately won. As somebody said, don't be against war. Be for peace. You guys know this. Don't be against lack. Be for abundance. Come on, don't be against lack. Be for abundance. And we often hear phrases like fighting crime and violence and conquering disease. We hear that. That's just how governments tend to go about things. Fight crime, fight violence. Not the way to go, says Holliwell. Not the way to go, says Jesus. Jesus says, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that despitefully use you. Or elsewhere we hear, agree with thine adversary. And we also hear, turn the other cheek if someone smites you on one of the cheeks. The law of forgiveness, that one leads nicely into the law of forgiveness. When we become generous enough to forgive, we become superior to what is forgiven. So Peter, for example, we'll remember this, we know this story quite well. Peter asked Jesus if he should forgive his brother's sin against him 7 times. And Peter said the number 7 because he knew the Jewish law of the time that you should forgive a brother's sin against you 3 times. That was the law. Jesus' answer, no. Forgive 70 times 7. And of course, by that he meant indefinitely. In the Lord's Prayer, we ask God to forgive our debts. And last week I was reminding Courtney to finish the sentence, God forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. It's 2 sides of the one coin. So Holliwell is talking both about forgiving other people, whatever it is that they did wrong for us, and forgiving ourselves. If you keep on thinking of the wrong someone has done to you, your consciousness will be burdened. He's speaking now, he moves on to specifically monetary debt. If we focus on debts that people have for us, money, we may be focusing on limitation and lack instead of freedom and abundance. And if we're focusing on limitation and lack, not freedom and abundance, you know what we will attract. Go back to the law of attraction. Then comes another law, the law of sacrifice. And this states, I quote from Holliwell, something of value must be surrendered for anything of value we wish to gain. This might not be what you're thinking on the surface. He's not saying that you must sacrifice something good in order to gain something of equal good. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, in fact, I quote, "We are sacrificing every day of our lives, whether we want to or not. No matter what we want in life, we have to give up something in order to get it." If you want, when you go to the grocery, to get a nice blouse or a nice pair of shoes, you have to give them something. And it's that sort of sacrifice, he's saying, not something negative, not negative. If you want to become a skilled athlete, or an efficient teacher, or an expert lawyer, or a beautiful singer, you must be disciplined and do the things that are necessary. You give up some of your time, you give up some of your desire just to lay back on the couch and watch television. You have to give up something to become a skilled athlete. Think about Usain Bolt and all the other athletes that we have. They gave up a lot in order to reach where they are. Holliwell says, "An undisciplined life is an insane life," unquote. And freedom is in being able to control your life and in making it what you want it to be, by knowing what to give up so that you can gain the bigger thing that you want. Number 10 is the law of obedience. This is the penultimate law. Love the word penultimate. When we let our conscience be our guide in the choices we make, we will always be led to right resolution and healthy growth. The law of obedience. Many people, when they learn that the science of living is governed by exacting laws, they immediately assume that to live rightly is to live the hard way. They are afraid of a law that is exacting in its demands when it affects them. Yet, you see, but those same people would not be willing that the laws which govern society, that they should be modified in any way. They want to be able to depend also 100% on the laws of mathematics and of science and of medicine. They want to be able to, but when the law touches them, they cringe a little. And what they have done, unfortunately, too many of them, not present company accepted, many have created a God who is partial, who is subject to whims and fancies, who will change when you praise him or flatter. A God who can be persuaded to change his mind, a God who can be bargained with. Nope. God is law, but at the same time, God is love. So the word obey means to submit to rule, to comply with orders or instructions. Obedience is the governor of all movements, whether mechanical, literal, or spiritual. And a student, that's us, failing to comply with or obey the instructions of spirit, the law of God, will reverse the good that we should be having and create the opposite. As you sow, so you reap. You plant corn, you're going to get corn. You're not going to get peas. And the final law, a sort of summary law, the law of success. Successful living comes naturally and easily to anyone who will learn how life works and work with life that way. God's will that man should not, it's God's will that man should not only use but enjoy every good in the universe. Man is born to be rich, says Holliwell. The powers inherent in him are inexhaustible, and every man, every woman, every child can develop greatness. It's simply a matter of knowing how. And I'd like to close with a favorite poem of mine, which tells you how. It's called The Winner. Goes back to thinking, that very first law, the law of thinking. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you would like to win, but think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you lose, you've lost. For out in the world we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in your state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you ever can earn the prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man. For sooner or later, the one who wins is the one who thinks he can. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Michael. A whole lot of food for thought, you know. Anybody who came here with a hungry belly, you know, you're leaving with a full consciousness. Holliwell is an excellent book, and he went through and gave us a brief synopsis of each of the 11 laws, you know, and how to work with them. Primarily, of course, is a law of cause and effect, and everything falls under that. And that there's a cause, and there's, you know, let's say you don't plant corn and get peas. So what are we planting? We went through the law of thinking, attraction, the law of receiving. Now that was an interesting one. So we receive according to how we give, and it's a law. And of course, that follows by increase, compensation. So, you know, as you are, what's my worth? What do you think your worth is? And the compensation comes accordingly. You know, it says resist not evil. There's a law of non-resistance. And of course, to be able to even forgive ourselves for some of the choices that we have made. I could also add to that, just release the past. You know, my ex-husband used to say, what used to was can't are. So let's just, you know, look at where we are at now. And sometimes we have to give up something. I didn't like that one, Reverend Michael. Because I think of the joy and pleasure I get from watching television, Netflix. But I know I could do a lot more with the time. The law of obedience. Sometimes, you know, when your mind says, I should have did so, or I must do that. What, you know, do we listen to Spirit when it's speaking to us and through us? And of course, this culminates in our success. So apply these laws, friends. You will see us all at the retreat in October, right? We apply the laws. All right, now we're going to have a treat. Or have our songbird. And I'm asking you now to put your hands together to welcome Reverend Dr. Sonia Davidson.
Good morning, everyone. Just to let you know that at some stage, those of you who can whistle are going to join in whistling when we get the piano bridge, right? I'm about to, I need a little time so that I can get my prompter going. I was commissioned to find a happy song by Reverend Michael, and guess what? I had to go all the way back in history to find this song, right? It doesn't mean that they don't have happy songs, no, but the ones that I'm familiar with, I could not find. So this one is I Whistle a Happy Tune from the movie The King and I. There are a few people in here who may just have seen that movie, but it goes back a few centuries. Oh, even my daughter, wow. Okay, so here we go.
Whenever I feel afraid, I hold my head erect and whistle a happy tune so no one will suspect I'm afraid. While shivering in my I strike a careless pose and whistle a happy tune, and no one ever knows I'm afraid. The result of this deception is very strange to tell, for when I fool the people, I fear I fool myself as well. I whistle a happy tune, and every single time the happiness in the tune convinces me that I'm not afraid. Make believe you're brave, and the trick will take you far. You may be as brave as you make believe you are. You may be as brave as you make believe you are.
Yay! Happy? Is that happy enough?
Thank you so much, Reverend Sonia. Thank you so much. Boy, doctor and minister and singer and counselor. Boy, lady have so many hats on that small frame. Thank you so much. When I came in here, as we out, before even getting onto the walkway, I heard her glorious voice about happy tune. I said, yes, she found a happy one. That was great. Give her another hand, please. That was nice. Thank you. And now, let us have the prayer of Jamaica. It is found on screen as well as on a flyer in your program. The prayer of Jamaica. Together. The radiant light of God's love is now flowing through us and from us to everything and everyone it touches. The eternal light of God's love now completely fills, covers, and surrounds our island, Jamaica. The glowing intensity of the light of God's love now interpenetrates and awakens within the hearts and minds of our countrymen and women the truths of life which set free. The light of God's love is growing and glowing in intensity in the hearts and minds of mankind everywhere. Love, health, harmony, goodwill, peace, uprightness, integrity, joy, prosperity, kindness, and our oneness under God are now established. And so it is. So it is. And to show that, Reverend Sonia, that we too can sing, let us go to In the Twinkling of an Eye. On a flyer and on your screen. In the twinkling of an eye, you can change the world you live in. Your world responds to your command. The moment it is given. In the twinkling of an eye, a new thought can change your day. Just make a selection and change your direction. You Thank you. Please continue standing as you take your love offering in your hand. And we say the blessing that is found on the screen and also on your envelope. Together, lovingly I give, joyfully I receive. Be thou fruitful, increase, and multiply. Bless, prosper, and enrich everyone whom you touch, and replenish all of my financial affairs. So be it. Thank you, Father, and so it is. Please join me as I give my closing and affirmative prayer of thanksgiving for all that has flowed into the temple this morning. We give thanks for the money substance. We give thanks for the music. We give thanks for the words and the thoughts and the activity, all that have flowed beautifully, smoothly, delightfully into our Sunday service this morning. And as they flow into the sanctuary, we open our hearts and our minds to receive all these blessings: joy, abundance, love, light, harmony, peace. And we find ourselves filled to the brim, and we find that these blessings spill over and influence our environment. They surroundings us immediately in the community around us, but also spilling over and radiating further into the rest of Jamaica. And indeed, because there are no boundaries to light and love and peace and harmony, our influence reaches out into the world and helps all those who are open and receptive to the peace and love and light that we are shining from this temple of light. I know that because we have this awareness of unity, all is well individually with us, all is well with the church community, all is well with our island Jamaica. I know this, I believe this, and release my words into the law of mind, giving thanks for God's blessings, infinite blessings, and know that as I have spoken, it is so, and so it is. Let us sing the peace song.
And as we sing the peace song, can we,
Oh, yeah.
we can just come up and drop
Come
our
up and just
envelopes
drop
in the
there.
box.
Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me.
Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, family all are we. Yes, we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, yes, this is my soul and vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with
And as we prepare to depart, let us remember all the activities that are going to be taking place in this beloved church of ours, inside the church and outside, because tomorrow morning there is Reverend John with his quiet moments in the garden. And on Tuesday evening, we have the spiritual mind healing service. On Wednesday, there is a class, my last class on spiritual laws. On Thursday morning, Reverend Ann has classes, and there's another class with Reverend Sonia and Steve on Thursday evening, as well as there is prayer power. And next Sunday, bright and early, 9 o'clock in the morning, we have another Sunday morning service. Yes.
This is the moment now. With every step I take, yes, this is my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with
And in 10 minutes or so, Angela will be having her wisdom circle.